Good afternoon. My name is Philipp Dietachmair. I'm head of programs at the European Cultural Foundation, which is based in Amsterdam. Thank you very much for the invitation to speak and attend a panel with so many interesting initiatives in Ukraine and for Ukraine. Maybe I'll start with a few words about the foundation and our recent work in solidarity with Ukraine. The European Cultural Foundation is an independent, lottery-financed foundation which has been working in Ukraine and with civil society and cultural initiatives in Ukraine for more than 15 years. We have been working with cultural groups and new initiatives in many different cities all over Ukraine. We worked on cultural strategy development with cities. We worked according to our mission on networking and bringing Ukrainians and other Europeans from other countries together across borders for many, many years in the framework of our tandem programs, which also always involved representatives of museums, of big institutions, of big cultural venues, which are now partially destroyed and need to be rebuilt, like the entire cultural sector, which is subject of our discussions today. I think my main starting point will be our work in the context of the Culture of Solidarity Fund for Ukraine. The Culture of Solidarity Fund to date managed to support more than 100 initiatives in and with and for Ukraine, as the name says, in solidarity with the cultural sector, with artists, with cultural players in and from Ukraine, dispersed all over Europe. We started basically on the second or third day of the war, because having worked for such a long time in Ukraine and with Ukrainian actors, which were all now facing destruction and disruption, to say the least, of their work, it was clear that we had to do something in solidarity with our colleagues, with our partner institutions, for helping the structures and the people and the ideas that were there survive, maintain what could be done, and increasingly also in the past month and weeks start thinking about the future. We are a relatively small foundation, so I think addressing the topic of rebuilding Ukraine and the cultural recovery of Ukraine, the bigger sums for restoring buildings, for removing the damage or that has already been done. Bigger sums on European Union level will have to be moved, but I think for the smaller private foundation that works on small initiatives, civil society initiatives, on initiatives for citizens, Ukrainians and Europeans at large, I would want to make 3 points which from our point of view are important when thinking and strategizing and imagining the recovery of Ukraine's cultural sector, including all its infrastructure, including workspaces, including exhibition spaces, including everything that is and has been part of the setup of Ukraine's arts and culture scene before the war already. So I think 3 points will be very relevant and will guide our work, which we plan to continue in the framework of this Culture of Solidarity Fund also next year and into the next years, provided and with the hope that many other European partners from foundations, from public funders join our efforts. It's a huge effort. as everyone I think will agree, and we are also, as a smaller foundation, dependent on other partners, foundations acting in solidarity with us. So one very important first point I wanted to make is that I think we have to think about the recovery of the cultural arts and culture sector in Ukraine, not only in terms of buildings and built infrastructure and studios and physical regenerating or rebuilding the physical environment. It is obviously necessary, but I think we also need to invest in recovering the networks in the country, the regional networks, the local networks, all the things that were disrupted among the main actors, the humans, the artists, the cultural professionals, the audiences, the communities that made up the fabric of the cultural sector before the war. So I think we have to invest in really recovering the spirit, the community ties, the cohesion, professional cohesion, cohesion among colleagues and friends and supporters inside the cultural sector of Ukraine, in order to also have shared thoughts and shared pooling of knowledge and experiences for strategizing for the future, for a future cultural policy of Ukraine, for a future strategy of rebuilding Ukraine in the many smaller entities in the regions, in the cities, in the communities, all the way down to individual functions of particular buildings. The second point I wanted to make is that I think when investing in the recovery of Ukraine from our point of view as European Cultural Foundation, as a foundation that is not representing the European Union institutions as such, but works a lot with the European Union policy institutions, is that a recovery of Ukraine also always has to keep the horizon of being a cultural sector that in the future operates inside the European Union, when Ukraine will be a European Union membership country, and that a lot of knowledge sharing with other European Union member states, be it close from the neighborhood in Central and Eastern Europe, but also from further away, all the way to Portugal, Spain, Italy, the Balkans, especially Croatia, for example, which has gone through similar European integration processes in a post-war recovery period, to learn from these experiences and to develop a very strong future-oriented European integration focus by sharing knowledge, by adopting standards and policies, by exchanging people to people, peer to peer level across borders, and to keep a forward-looking and future-oriented perspective in recovering Ukraine's cultural sector. And our programs in the future will certainly focus and initiatives focus on that a lot also. And the third aspect, which is sort of connected to the first and the second point, is the question of recovering of Ukraine, rebuilding Ukraine's cultural sector and buildings in the context of a European standard in terms of using the opportunity it provides, as sad as it is, that certain buildings, certain infrastructure has to be rebuilt completely, but that this could be a unique chance to create an infrastructure for arts and culture in Ukraine that is in line with the highest standards of ecologically sustainable building. There is a big initiative on European Union level now called the New European Bauhaus, which aims at a new school of thinking and imagining Europe's future with designs that are green and ecologically sustainable, and position Europe also as a design and thought leader around the world in terms of what green design could be. And I think Ukraine's particular role in this context for architects, designers, but for everyone who is working in the arts and culture field, artists, even audiences, Ukraine's contribution could be to show how Ukraine can, and the whole cultural sector can be rebuilt by following standards of green sustainability and building ecologically sustainable and aware structures and strategies that basically could become a showcase example how you do post-war recovery in a green and ecological responsible manner and in a future-oriented way. I think I have used up my time I have here and wanted to conclude with an announcement or forward-looking perspective that we will continue our culture of solidarity work for Ukraine and with Ukrainians and friends of Ukraine and partners of Ukraine all over Europe. And we look forward to have to collaborate and to reach out and to work with many interesting partners, such as present at this conference or listening to us online or live also in the future. Thank you very much. And if you haven't managed to see me live, then with best regards and all the best, and take care from Amsterdam. Thank you very much.